Hello everyone, my name is Reem and this is my industry innovation proposal for the product makers, developed as part of Make 2026. Over the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through a challenge that sits at the intersection of food science, technology, and consumer trust, and share the prototype solution me and my team developed to address it. This presentation will be divided into 5 key sections. I'll begin with the background on our industry partner, then introduce the challenge and the stakeholders involved. From there, I'll explain the innovation methods we used, present our prototype solution, and share the insights that shaped it. I'll close with the practical recommendations for what the product makers can do next. And my main goal here today is to provide a clear, evidence based proposal for how AI can be used responsibly in food creation. So, who are the product makers? The Product Makers is an Australian flavour and an ingredient innovation company. Their core mission is to develop natural flavours and bioactive ingredients that enhance the taste and function of food and beverage products. What makes them distinctive is their research driven approach. They work directly with food manufacturers to create tailored ingredient solutions rather than selling off the shelf products. This positions the product makers upstream in the food supply chain, shaping what ultimately reaches consumers. The company's work sits at the intersection of science, manufacturing, and consumer experience. This makes responsible innovation especially important because decisions made in the formulation research can ultimately influence how food products are perceived by the public. As AI becomes more capable in research and formulation, this creates a strategic decision point for the organization. And with artificial intelligence tools continuously improving in areas such as formulation optimization and predictive modeling, organizations in this space will need to carefully balance innovation opportunities with consumer perception risks. And that brings me to our challenge. Should AI be used in food creation, or will it undermine consumer trust and perceptions of naturalness? On one hand, AI offers speed, efficiency, and pattern recognition that can exhilarate ingredient discovery. On the other hand, consumers increasingly care about where their food comes from and how it's made. Our proposed solution addresses Sustainability Development Goals 3, 9, and 12 by promoting responsible innovation and transparent production practices. Importantly, AI is already being used in parts of the food industry. The real issue is not whether it exists, but how it's introduced and communicated. If organizations do not address this openly, the gap between industry practice and consumer perception could risk trust. Consumer expectations around food production are shifting constantly. People are not necessarily opposed to technological innovation, but they want confidence that it is being used responsibly and transparently. To fully understand this challenge, we map the stakeholders involved. At the center are the consumers and clients, and extending outward are food technologists, head researchers, marketing and IT teams, retailers, suppliers, farmers, AI companies, the media, as well as governmental bodies such as FSANs. This map highlighted that any solution must function across multiple layers simultaneously, not just from a technical perspective, but also across organizational, regulatory, and consumer contexts. Understanding these relationships was essential because implementing AI in one part could affect other parts of the organization. To arrive at our prototype, we applied 4 key innovation tools that we learned throughout MIG. First, the stakeholder mapping that you just saw helped us identify all the affected parties and ensure no perspective was being overlooked. Second, storyboarding allowed us to visualize and understand the user journey, helping us understand how consumers might encounter and interpret AI involvement. Third, prototyping enabled us to create a testable version of our solution without full development, allowing for early feedback. Finally, testing and validation involved observing real user reactions to the prototype. Using these tools, we developed a prototype in the form of a three-part action plan. Rather than a physical product, this prototype is a framework designed to be implemented within the organization. The three parts are marketing, AI disclosure, and employee upskilling. The first part focuses on marketing. Our recommendation here is to position AI as a tool that assists food scientists rather than replacing them. This framing emphasizes human expertise and craftsmanship and helps maintain the sense of naturalness and care that consumers often associate with food products. The second part is AI disclosure. Under Australian law, AI use must be transparent, but our testing showed that where disclosure occurs matters significantly. A large proportion of consumers reported being deterred by AI disclosure on product packaging. In contrast, disclosure via the company website was received far more positively. So we recommend transparent website disclosure rather than on package labeling. The third part is employee upskilling. This involves training staff to use AI effectively and ethically through professional development. Upskilling supports responsible AI use internally while also helping employees confidently communicate AI practices to external partners and consumers. Our solution was shaped by testing and validation, grey literature, as well as feedback from our industry partner. For example, 90% of consumers reported accessing food related information primarily through Instagram and TikTok, which informed our marketing focus. We also found that trust increased from 2.5 out of 5 to 3.5 out of 5 after consumers were shown our proposed transparent communication approach. The strongest theme across feedback was that transparency mattered more than the AI technology itself. Consumers were not necessarily resistant to AI, they were resistant to feeling uninformed. Another interesting observation was that communication channel mattered as much as the message itself. Social media platforms were effective because they are already trusted sources of food related information among young consumers. This brings me to our next steps. Based on what we found, we recommend two practical next steps. First is to implement a small scale market trial using two existing products and apply the three-part solution over a 5-month period to observe real consumer response in a controlled setting. Second, introduce structured measurement alongside this trial. Establish baseline trust metrics before starting and then continue collecting feedback as messaging and disclosure strategies are tested. This allows the product makers to move forward carefully, gather meaningful data, and make decisions based on evidence rather than assumption. Here are my references. And before I leave you all off, I would like to acknowledge Matthew Flavelle, Kerry Clark, Joelle Moore, and our coaches Pranshul and Jayani for their guidance throughout this journey, as well as my team members Jack, Stephanie, Wanjen, Katie, Alex, Casey, and Amara for their collaboration and contribution. Thank you all so much.